Hello, everyone. Today, we'll be speaking about staffing as a function of management and principles of management. So we'll be speaking about staffing as a function of management, staffing function. So this function of management entails acquiring the required human resources that will give the organization a competitive advantage in the industry that we serve. So staffing involves procurement of the needed human resource its maintenance and deployment of this human resource in a way that will achieve a competitive advantage, competitive advantage to the organization, So what we mean by competitive advantage is that how can we outdo our competitors, or what are some of the strengths that sell us our products more in line with the market that we serve. So for instance, using this staffing function, we employ the use of recruitment and selection of the best types of candidates to give us that edge over our competitors or over the people we are competing in the same market. So we have different elements that we take into account in this staffing function. So elements of staffing. One is manpower planning. So manpower planning is identifying the needs that we have for human resource and acquiring those human aspect of the labor part to fill those needs. And then another one is recruitment and selection. So recruitment and selection, for recruitment means coming up with a pool of the needed skills that we want, and then selection is from that pool of the people we have identified, we select the best candidate to fill the vacancy that we had, for instance, advertised. And then training and development. So for training and development, this is now training the skills or the employees with the necessary skills to boost their productivity in the business. So that is staffing as a function. Another element is performance management and appraisal. Performance management and appraisal. So by performance appraisal or management, this is now evaluating the performance of these employees with regards to the goals that we had set or the standards that we had set that they should achieve. And then another one is compensation and reward management. That for reward management, on what basis do we award rewards for, let's say, exemplified performance of the individuals? And then, so this is on what basis do we come up with the rewards the employees have earned? And then interpersonal relations, and these ones, they involve things to do with conflicts. How do we resolve conflicts, grievances, and promote discipline handling. Another one is labor relations and collective bargaining, labor relations. So all of these are elements of staffing as a function, labor relations and collective bargaining. And then health and safety as an aspect of the employees' health and safety. Also, separation. So for separation, what we mean is, now on what terms do we terminate the contracts of the employees, or the instances in which the contracts of the employees end. So what are some of the importances of this human resource management or staffing? Importance of staffing as a function or human resource management. So these are the importances or the functions of having this staffing as a function of management. So one of the importance is that it enables the organization to obtain and retain skilled workers. So enables the organization obtain and retain skilled, committed workforce. So by instituting these aspects or elements of staffing through training and development, we will have a skilled and committed workforce, since they will have improved in terms of their expertise or fields. And then to also enhance and develop inherent capabilities of people, to enhance and develop capabilities of people. So for this one, through this training and development, we can actually grow the skills that are inborn from the workforce that we have, and then to ensure that people are valued and rewarded, also to ensure that people are valued and rewarded. And rewarded, that through this compensation and reward management as a function or as an element of staffing, we ensure that the efforts of the employees are recognized and rewarded accordingly. So this one will impact in the loyalty of the employees, that they will be more committed towards the productivity of the organization in large. And then to prevent conversion of human assets into liabilities also. To prevent conversion of human assets into liabilities. So for instance, using this element of staffing, of taking into account of the health and safety of employees, the liabilities of the company will ideally reduce if we institute proper methods. Like for instance, we advise that every employee to have a medical insurance cover. So, and then the last one, to create a climate in which productive and harmonious relationships can be maintained. So create a working environment in which productive and harmonious relationships can be maintained. So this is another importance of staffing as a function or human resource management can be maintained. So these are some of the importance of this staffing function. And to expound on these elements of staffing, we will start with manpower planning. Manpower planning. And for manpower planning, this is an accurate determination of the present and future manpower needs. So, accurate determination of the future manpower needs, of the current and future manpower needs, that we analyze on the kind of manpower we need in our organization, current and future manpower needs. That from this manpower planning, we know that we need 20 new employees in the future for the branch that will be opening and the like. So this is just determination of the current and future manpower needs, and strategies to ensure that the human resource objectives have been met. And strategies to ensure these objectives, to ensure human resource objectives have been met. So this is manpower planning, where we determine the current and future needs of manpower in our organization. And then the other one is recruitment and selection. Recruitment and selection. The second element of staffing is recruitment and selection. And the difference between these two, for recruitment, this one, it entails coming up with a pool of people with the characteristics that we are searching for. And then for selection is selecting the best candidate from that pool of which we have identified. So recruitment is identified or is considered to be the process of attracting a pool of qualified participants, to apply for a job opening in an organization. So for instance, if we have a job opening that states we need someone with 5 years of experience, so what recruitment states is that process of having people with 5 years of experience in one pool for that job opening that you're saying, to apply for a job opening in an organization. And then selection now from that pool of people we have of 5 years of experience, we select the best candidate. So is the process of choosing the best candidate, process of choosing the best candidate. The process of choosing the best candidate out of the applicants, out of these applicants that we have identified. So that is recruitment and selection. And then another one is training and development. So for training and development is the third element of staffing. Training and development. Now for this one, training is intervention and organized activity designed to create a change in the thinking of or a behavior of an individual. So training is intervention to try and to change the thinking or behavior of an individual to do a task better. To change the behavior of an individual to enable them to do their current job in a more effective manner. To enable them to do their job in a more effective manner. So this is training that we try and modify your behavior to ensure that you can do your job in a more effective manner. And then for development is the growth of an individual in all aspects. Development, growth of an individual in all aspects. In all aspects or realization of a person's potential through provision of learning and educational experiences. So development is growth of an individual in all aspects or a realization of someone's potential through educational experiences. Potential through educational experiences. So this is training and development as an element of staffing. So what are some of the importances of training and development in an organization? One, it increases productivity through improved skills. Importances of training and development. That through training, we improve someone else's skill, and the ripple effect of that is that there is increased productivity of the organization. So increases productivity. Through improving skills and development. Another one, increased job satisfaction. It leads to increased job satisfaction and morale. That through these avenues of improving your skills, you get to be motivated or satisfied with the work that you're doing, job satisfaction. Job satisfaction and morale. since you're in an organization that provides this avenue, you will be more motivated to work in that place. And then it reduces the staff turnover, staff turnover rate. And by this, what we mean by the staff turnover rate, this is the rate at which staff or employees leave your organization, either through a resignation or other reasons. So if you know you are in an organization that is willing to train you and develop your skills, you will be more reluctant to leaving that organization. And then another one is it reduces the need of supervision, the need for supervision. That through you improving your own skills, there is lesser and lesser need of you being supervised over your own roles. And then it prepares prospective managers, that through equipping them with the necessary skills, they prepare prospective managers of the different departments. And then also it increases employees' flexibility, that you can move to any department since you have been trained and you have the necessary skills. Flexibility. So how then do we come up with a training and development program that will ensure that our employees are well equipped with skills that they can use in productivity? So the steps in setting up a training and development program, and developing program. So these are the steps that we undertake to come up with a training and development program that will impact on the skills of our employees in our organization. So one is you identify the training needs. That, for instance, if we know that we have two employees, employees A and employee B, and then we know that employee A is doing more well than employee B, we know that our training should be also centered towards B, since he's the one who needs more of training in terms of skills. And then defining the training required. So this is now understanding, like the example we had of the employee A and B, this is defining the kind of training required for employee B to improve in terms of his productivity. And then also developing a training program So this one, it involves making provisions for the following. So like for instance, who will train this employee B? Let's say it's another employee C. So this is the facilitator who will train the employee that we need to boost his productivity. And then another step is evaluate the training program. Evaluate the training program. You evaluate the training program. Now, this is assessing the extent to which the training has achieved its intended objectives. So this one, for instance, is seeing now that we instituted a training development for this training and development for this employee B, did he meet the objectives or the set goals that he had when starting out in this first step? So what are some of these techniques of training? What are some of these techniques of training or job training? We have two ways you can train an employee. One, it can be either through an on-job training or out of the job training. So what are some of the ways we can train an employee? One, so techniques of on-the-job training. So these are ways you can train an employee in the organization or during when he's still on the job. So one is apprenticeship. You can take an employee to be under you and train him with all the skills that he needs. Also, you can delegation, that you confer authority to him and responsibility. Also, job rotation. So what we mean by job rotation is constantly changing up the employees. Like for instance, if employee M was in department 1 and employee N is in department 2, job rotation is such that employee M after some time will go to department 2 and N to department 1. So in such an instance, is the person who goes to the other department will have those skills that are needed in that department. So that is job rotation. And then another one is participation in committees. Also, work shadowing, that you watch a person who has these skills and see how the work is done. So you shadow him in terms of his work. And then another one is coaching or mentoring. So you can mentor an individual, mentoring. And then you can also be given a temporal or promotional assignment. Promotion assignment, that you are assigned a duty to work on, and it's a way of training you to acquire new skills. And then you can also be offered an assistant to a position. So as you can see, these are techniques that are used on the on-the-job training, for on-the-job training. So what are some of the techniques of out-of-the-job training? So this one, there may be lecture methods where you educate people on different skills in line with this productivity in terms of a lecture. Also, discussion method, that you can gain skills through discussing or interacting with other, discussion method. And then also correspondence courses. Correspondence courses is starting out on the courses, let's say, for the work that you do, that you gain knowledge in terms of these courses, or you apply to read more on the same skills that you have or you want to acquire. And then conferences, seminars and workshops. That through these conferences, you will acquire these skills that we are saying on, out of the job training. So we have out of the job training, where this one is out of the context of the workplace. And for on the job training, this one happens in the context of the workplace. So those are some of the techniques that we use to train employees or equip them with skills that are necessary, one, for either promotional positions or to just boost their productivity in the organization. To just boost their productivity in the organization. So the next one is now the same in the same category, employee induction. Employee induction. So this one is an orientation that is planned training program for new employees meant to ensure that they settle in their roles as quickly and as effectively as possible. So this one is just orientation of new employees. Orientation of new employees and training them, employees, and training them, and training them, and training them to ensure they settle in their roles as quickly as possible. In their roles as quickly as possible. So this one involves now orienting the new employees to settle in their new roles as quickly as possible. So some of the importance of these induction programs, importance of having such induction programs, that every new employee, you take them through, let's say, an orientation program, induction program, is that one, they are able to understand the workplace culture, Also, they are able to comply or compliance. They understand that now they have to follow the policies and rules that have been set in place. And then retention. So through this orientation, they feel like part of the organization, and we are likely to retain the new employees. Also, it reduces, it provides the necessary information to the new employees, provides necessary information to the new employees, that they understand that this is my role and these are the duties and responsibilities that have been allocated to me. Also, establishing good communication helps in establishing good communication. And it also boosts the company's reputation, boosts the company's reputation. That you know that this company has an orientation or induction program to welcome their employees. So, and also ensures operational efficiency. And then another part of this training and development is manager development. So for this one, it's an integrated process of growing managers to improve their performance and develop them to meet current and future needs. So this one is process of growing managers. Process of growing managers. Process of growing managers to improve their performance. To improve their performance and develop them to meet the current and future needs. And develop them to meet the current and future needs. And future needs. So this is development of managers in terms of their skills and their abilities. So this can be done through job rotation, the one that you're saying where you move different managers, and also coaching or conferences and seminars and also sensitivity training. So that is manager development. Now, the next element of staffing is performance management and appraisal. Performance management and appraisal. So this one is evaluating the performance of the different departments or the organization in general and see if it has met the standards that are required. So performance appraisal or performance management and appraisal. Appraisal. So what we mean by performance appraisal, so for performance appraisal, it's also known as performance evaluation, and it's a regular systematic process of gathering data about how an individual employee is performing with an aim of identifying underperformance. So this one is also known as performance evaluation. And it is evaluating an employee's performance. So it is evaluating an employee's performance. With an aim of identifying underperformance and the necessary remedial action in order to take remedial action. And the remedial action to be taken now will be in line with what we are trying to achieve. So what are some of the purposes or benefits of this performance appraisal? Purpose or benefits of performance appraisal. That what are some of the advantages we have of evaluating this employee's performance? Constantly evaluating this employee's performance. One is to identify underperformance, and take remedial action. Underperformance and take remedial action. That from now, evaluating this employee's performance, we will see if there is an underperformance and take remedial action. Also, to identify training needs, the training needs that if this employee is underperforming, we will know the needs in terms of training that we should institute training needs. Also, to facilitate administrative decisions such as promotions and transfers, facilitate administrative decisions that through now evaluating the performance of this employee, we will be able to know if this employee deserves a promotion or transfer. Promotions and transfer. Also, another one is to evaluate the effectiveness of a training program, to evaluate training program. That is the training program that we put in place really effective if these employees are still underperforming or not. And then another one, it's a necessary check for new policies. It's a necessary check for new policies. That to ensure that the policies that we have instituted are effective, we can evaluate its performance in line with the goals we hoped to achieve from them. So some of the steps undertaken to remedy underperformance of an employee is establish the reasons for this shortfall, and also decide and agree on the action required by the individual, and provide the resources required to, in terms of coaching, if the employee needs coaching or training in any way. So a performance appraisal means evaluating the performance of an individual to see if there is underperformance or the goals that had been set have not yet been met. And then some of these appraisal techniques that we use, appraisal techniques, to know that, to measure performance or to know if there is underperformance. One is grading. We can grade this, that the different employees we have, we grade them according to their performance. Also ranking them in order of the most performed or the least underperformed. And then another one is overall assessment or narrative essay, that you are evaluated and through an overall assessment in terms of all the aspects that you work in. And then also we can use customer appraisal to know if we are underperforming or not. And then another one is results-oriented technique. So these are some of the techniques we use to know if there is underperformance or if the performance is in line with what we had set out. So performance management. Now, performance management. This is a strategic and integrated approach to delivering sustainable success to the organization by improving the contributions of the people who work there and developing the capabilities of individuals and team. So this is a strategic and integrated approach. To delivering sustainable success, sustainable success to the organization. So some of the techniques of performance management, techniques of ensuring that we mean this or we maintain this sustainable success, techniques of performance management. will include, one is we can use benchmarking, and we have different types of benchmarking where it can either be external, internal, and the likes. So for external is now benchmarking with an external or an outsider, and internal is within the organization where one department benchmarks against another department. Also, balance scorecard. So this one uses the financial perspective, also the internal business process perspective, and the like. So by balance scorecard, we not only look at the financial perspective, but we also take into account other perspectives of the organization. And then another technique is business process reengineering. And then Kaizen. So this business process reengineering is reorganizing your organization, like for instance, from the input to the output. And then Kaizen, this one is enhances creativity and innovation. So techniques of performance management, in that if is our organization really maintaining its creativity and innovation aspect of it. And then total quality management. So this one, we can measure performance with regards to, if we base our argument on, let's say, the customer focus, are we meeting the customer's needs and specifications or satisfaction? And then another element of staffing is compensation and reward management. So for this one is, on what grounds can we award a reward or institute a reward for employees? Compensation and reward management. So for compensation or remuneration, it refers to what is paid to the employees. So remuneration to the employees. For instance, their salaries or any bonuses or such to the employees. And then some of the objectives of these policies is to attract and retain staff, also to provide incentives for better staff work, And then, so some of the factors that influence how people will be paid, salary and wage structure. Include one is the organizational ability to pay. So is the organization well endowed with resources to pay this employees? Organizational ability to pay. Also, qualifications and experience of the employee. What are some of the qualifications and experience of the employee? The skills that the employee brings to the table may impact the salary he has. Qualifications and experience of employee. And then the risks involved in the job, the risks involved in the job. For instance, they may say high risk, high return in the job, that if you are at more risk, you should be paid or well compensated. And then another one is a length of time it takes to train on the job, the length of time to do a task, length of time to train on the job, be trained on the job, to be trained on the job. And then another one is also pressure from trade unions. Pressure from trade unions. That the trade unions themselves, they say, we have set that every employee working in this industry should be paid a minimum of this amount of money or salary. And then, so examples of incentive schemes, examples of incentive schemes that we may put in place as a way of rewards, incentive schemes. One is bonuses. Also, you may have bonuses. Like if, for instance, if you meet a certain achievement, you are given a bonus. Also, gain sharing. Gain sharing, that you share in the gains of the company. Also, stock ownership plans, that they have plans for employees to own shares, stock ownership plans. And then pension plans, pension plans. And then lastly is on staff separation. Staff separation is an element of staffing. So for these other elements, for interpersonal relations, this one, it deals with conflicts and how these conflicts are resolved. And then labor relations and collective bargaining is just how the organization relates with in terms of the labor. And then health and safety. Now, these are the precautions that have been put in place to ensure the safety of the employees. And lastly, now staff separation. So staff separation is defined as how the employees now will leave the organization. So the employment relations may be terminated by the employer or the employee. So there are instances where this termination may occur by the employer or the employee. So termination by the employer, this is also known as de-recruitment, that the employer now lets you go as an employee. So this can be through retrenchment. So these are reasons why termination can be done by an employer, retrenchment or downsizing. So for instance, if a company is closing its branch, most of the employees will have to be let go. So this one is cutting the workforce, cutting the workforce. And then another one is redundancy. So what we mean by redundancy is, for instance, if your skills can be automated and be done by a machine, you are declared to be redundant. That this is where your services of a given positions are no longer required. Services of a given position are no longer required. That if your skills can be substituted for something else, you are declared redundant. And then another one is dismissal on disciplinary grounds, that you can be sacked or fired on disciplinary grounds. Disciplinary grounds, that if you fail to adhere to the organizational rules and regulations, you may be dismissed. And then a failure to renew a renewable contract, that the organization decides to not renew your contract, to renew a renewable contract. And then also, if it is retirement, that you have reached the age of retirement. And then termination by employee may occur by the employee himself, by employee may occur. One, professional reasons, that, for instance, you decided that due to certain reasons, you are no longer wanting to work with a certain company. Also, early retirement, if you decide to go to retire, early retirement. And then also personal reasons such as family, personal reasons such as family. So some of the causes of retrenchment or redundancy, and redundancy may be: one, poor organizational performance, that the organization may be performing poorly, so it decides to cut the workforce. And then another one, if it is adverse trading conditions, like if there is a issue to do with, for instance, the company cannot do well because of the trading conditions, they may be forced to cut the workforce. And then pressure from competition, and also introduction of new management techniques, So these are some of the causes of retrenchment and redundancy, and ways of maintaining the employees' morale even after this downsizing may include now providing assistance to the employees that have been laid off through things such as severance pay. So severance pay, this is paying them for certain months after even laying them off. And then canceling sessions, and then providing assurance to the remaining employees, So that is it on staffing as a function, where we have said on the different elements of staffing, where we have manpower planning, recruitment and selection, training and development, performance management and appraisal, compensation and reward management, also interpersonal relations, labor relations and collective bargaining, and also health and safety and separation from the organization.